Hey friends, this is Natalie Irvin, and welcome to the ICU podcast, where we explore how we can find significance in the unseen work of leaders and learn to be intentional to truly see others in our everyday lives. I can't wait to share with you, so let's get started. Today's scripture is Mark 11:23. Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in their heart, but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done for them. Hey friends, and welcome back to another episode of the ICU podcast. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Natalie Broulette. She is a mom of 3 from Savannah, Georgia. She's worked as an editor for online content. She's written 3 children's books and now has created a nonprofit organization with the goal of bringing a new children's museum and indoor play space to Savannah. So I'm so happy to have you. Thank you for coming on and agreeing to share your goals and share some of your background with us. I heard about you through a mutual friend, Sally. And when I heard what you were doing, I was like, yes, we are on board with this. Like, we live for some children's museums.
Yes.
It's my daughter's favorite thing to do. She can't be out in the heat too much because of a condition that she has. And so children's museums have been a way that we can allow her to be a kid. And so that makes me really, really happy that you are going down this path, even though I know it's difficult.
Well, thank you for having me. Sally told me all about you and your family and how excited you were. So it's like, okay, good. So I was happy to meet you and to come here and share about it and what we're doing.
Yeah, so it's the Natalie Show today.
That's what, I love. We need a theme song.
I love it. So give me a little bit of your backstory, your background, how you guys got here, that type of thing.
Okay, so I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, born and raised there. Okay. Decided to go to college in New York City. Just because I don't know, I always wanted to do something different. I always felt like I didn't exactly fit in the South in a lot of ways, so I wanted to sort of go somewhere new. Looked at colleges, went to NYU to visit, and me and my mom were immediately like, this is the place.
It's beautiful.
So, it was just a amazing experience. Love New York forever now.
Yeah.
So went to school there, studied journalism and cinema studies because I wanted to be sort of a film writer, a television writer, sort of, critical writing about entertainment. Mm-hmm. So that was the goal, and that's what I ended up doing for about 10 years. But in New York, met my husband, who's from Seattle. So then we ended up sort of bouncing around the country for a lot of years, New York to Seattle, back to New York, and then to Austin, Texas for a year, which is where our first child was born. Harrison. So when he was about 6 months old, we were like, oh, we're all alone in Austin, Texas, and it would be nice to be near family.
Yeah.
So we realized we could both work remote before it was cool, before COVID made it universal. Mm-hmm. So I moved back to Savannah. My husband moved to Savannah for the first time with our 6-month-old at the time, just to have a family support system, which is still so very important to us.
It is.
And then have since had 2 other kids. So my youngest is 3. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and Harrison is 9. He's the oldest. And we're still sort of working remote and settled into Savannah. Mm-hmm. And then just have came up with this idea a few years ago, and then have finally decided to go for it to create a new children's museum in Savannah.
That's so cool. And you guys have been all over the place. So that's really neat that you have different experiences. I think that helps when you're trying to do something as big as what you're doing, which we're going to get to. But I think having that experience, the networking with lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds gives you a leg up in order to kind of find people that are interested in investing in what you're doing. So tell me a little bit about the children's books that you wrote. I did not even realize that you had written children's books. And when I read your bio, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. But I guess it makes sense with your writing background, to do that. So tell me a little bit about how you got into that.
Sure. So it's sort of, I have always written, usually more journalistic type of stuff. But I think when my oldest was about 1, I sort of came up with this idea of how I would call him things like, sweet pea and things like that, and realized, oh, there's all these sort of food names that you call somebody, affectionately,
Yeah.
honey bun, whatever, all that stuff, sugar. So I sort of came up with this sort of short little rhyming story, really in a couple of days, that was sort of about a mother's love for her son in that case, and comparing him to food items, like you're as sweet as a peach, that type of thing. So, wrote the story, and then my mom, who is an artist, ended up illustrating it for
Wow.
me. So we have sort of, collaborated together. So we put out 3 books. So the first one is that, all about food. It's called More Than Food, like I love you more than food.
Yeah.
So self-published that, and then we had to write a book for my daughter. So then that one is called How Far, and it's sort of the same theme, but sort of all about travel, sort of all around the world. Like I would go this far to find you. So the mother and daughter kind of like go to Paris and, go to a tropical island and sort of conveying love in that way.
Yeah.
And then the third book is just sort of an alphabet book. So not much writing, but some beautiful illustrations from my mom again. Just like A is for avocado and D is for dragon fruit, kind of like interesting foods
Different things
that kids might not be as familiar with. So so we put those out sort of between 2017 and 2020.
Okay.
Just kind of cranked out these children's books. So you can find them on Amazon. In Savannah, they're in the Paris market,
okay.
which that's sort of been our biggest sales avenue is Paris market.
Yeah, I love Paris market.
Yeah, it's a great shop. So we're like really happy to be in there, and then people can flip through the book and see it and then buy it. So
It's so special. When I was looking at it on Amazon, I really loved the How Far, because I love traveling, and I think that's just so sweet that you were able to make that connection with your daughter, and
yes.
just introducing kids to places outside of where they live and where they might, some kids may never travel. So having exposure to those things is really special.
Yeah, I hate to pick favorites, but I feel like
That's
that
your
one,
favorite.
that the illustrations are like particularly beautiful. It's like
Yes,
cute.
the cover
It's
is.
cute girl clothes in it,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So that one,
love it.
that one's close to my heart.
That's really special. And now your kids have that.
I know that
forever,
they'll be like, let me see my book, because they know it's them. So,
Yeah, and with your mom being involved, I think that's really neat too.
Yeah.
It's very special.
Yeah.
So we started talking over Instagram kind of about your next journey that you are on. This is a big one.
Yes.
So tell me about what inspired you to want to go down the journey of creating a children's museum.
Like I said, so we moved back to Savannah as a family in 2015. And there are spaces in Savannah for kids, but I was just always hoping for more.
Yeah.
Particularly in the summertime, if you're in the South, if you're in the Southeast, you know how hot and humid it can be.
Yes.
So especially in the summer when kids are out of school, it's literally like, okay, we can go to the pool or the beach.
Basically.
That's about it. So that was sort of a frustration point for me, and I kept hoping for more. And one thing that I sort of just, all these thoughts kind of kept building. Growing up in Savannah, there was a humble science museum, but it had a planetarium in it. It had something which we're trying to incorporate into what we're doing. It had sort of a big, giant walk-through replica of a human heart. And
that's cool.
You could climb through the chambers of the heart, and it had a heartbeat and lights, and it was like very exciting as a little
cool.
kid.
Yeah.
So it was sort of a small science museum. That was pretty much it. There was like a reptile room and things like that. But we would go on field trips there, that kind of thing, growing up in the 80s and 90s there. And then it closed at some point when I didn't live in Savannah. And so I always think, like, why did it close? Like, there's nothing filled that space. And I just feel like there was nothing that kind of bridged the arts and sciences, a space where kids could just like roam free and like be safe and comfortable inside and play and learn at the same time.
Absolutely.
So I kept sort of, hoping someone would do something over these 8 years that we've been back. And it just, I didn't see anything materializing. I talked to some other people, it didn't seem like anybody was going to do it. Every parent of young kids I spoke to was like, please, yes, we need this, So I was like, okay, I'm going to try. So at the start of this year, I started, working on all the paperwork and filing papers with the IRS to get, tax exempt status and all of that sort of grunt work that I didn't know a thing about.
Yeah,
but,
that's a lot.
it was like I wanted to figure it out because I wanted to move forward with this.
Yeah.
So we've worked on that, worked on our branding. And then launched sort of, I guess, in September, officially launched our fundraising and outreach campaign. So it's called Create Space Children's Museum. And we're in the very early stages of fundraising, but just trying everything we can do to get the message out, let people know our mission and why we think it's important, and just trying to find people to partner with us and come on board and make it happen.
Yeah. And I love that because, like you said, there's a need for it in that community because parents love going to Savannah. Savannah is beautiful. My dad grew up there as well. And so I grew up going to Savannah. I lived in Atlanta. And now living here, we go there quite frequently, but there isn't a whole lot of spaces for kids to experience their kind of play. And with our daughter, in the summertime, that is like our worst enemy if we don't have places like that to go to. So we're always searching, there's one in Columbia, there's one in Pooler, that's fine, and in Atlanta. So we'll travel for a children's museum because it provides her the opportunity to go free, and we don't have to worry about her, and we don't have to tell her no. She gets to play, and she gets to be like a regular kid.
Right.
And so to me, it's very personal. What you're doing is reaching families who really need this type of thing. I know that there are parents who have children who are autistic that, live for this kind of stuff because the kids need tangible things to sensory play and all of these things that they may not be able to get in other places.
Exactly. And that is such a big part of our vision, is accessible to all children, engaging. Hopefully, we're trying to cover childhood. So, things for crawling infants and toddlers, all the way up to 12-year-olds who might be more interested in STEM or, the human body. So sort of, I keep using the word grand. We have sort of a grand vision for a space that can house all of that and can welcome all kids. And there's so much to be said for like making things accessible to autistic children and, children with different abilities. And the hope is that we can meet all of those needs and that it's like a safe, inviting space where everyone can have fun and learn. And also a big part of that in my mind is a space where parents are happy, where it's clean and, not too chaotic, hopefully, and sort of calming. Like one thing I think a lot about imagining the space is like the type of music that will be, playing in the background, just sort of like a calm, happy, joyful space for families to come. And then, of course, we have visions of like school field trips, and summer day camps. And I would love to even, sort of incorporate something that's like, I feel like teenagers are still kids. And again, there's a problem like providing spaces for teens. Like, where do teens go? It's like nobody really goes to the mall anymore. Where can teenagers go? So I think of things like teen night, where we let older kids come and enjoy the museum. So lots of ideas, lots of big hopes. But, I feel like we're in this process of just planting seeds and we are... we'll harvest them as they grow. But there are a lot of people excited about what we're doing. A lot of great companies and individuals are coming on board. So we just hope the sooner the better. But if it's a long-term thing, I'm in it for the long haul too. So
That's incredible. And I love the detail that you think about. I think
I
sometimes
get hung up on details.
but I think that can also be a positive thing because a lot of people aren't detail oriented. So they're seeing a big vision of something come together, but they're not paying attention to the music and the, specific toys and specific experiences that could be offered for specific children or parents. And I think you're onto something with the vibes kind of that you set because parents need an opportunity, I think, to allow their kids to play, but for them to have a moment,
Yes.
to relax and to just enjoy being in an environment with their children, but not necessarily having to be on top of them all the time or worry about, you're going to break something, back up, like don't touch. That's always a worry when you take your kids out in public.
Every time.
You're like, why did I think this was a good idea? I don't know.
Right.
But to have a space where you can just say, have fun and you can watch or you can engage, you can, do whatever it is that you feel that you want to do.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that we're missing that, in that space. So I'm proud of you for, taking the vision and running with it.
Well, thank you.
I think a lot of people would want to get involved if they knew about it. So that's kind of why I wanted to meet with you because I think parents, sometimes they just don't know what's happening. And I know a lot of my friends with young kids go to Savannah quite often. So I think that would be something they would be excited about. But tell me, I know that you've kind of explained your vision, but when parents and kids walk in the door, what are they going to see? Dream in your dreams, what would you create?
So we have sort of, if you go on our website, createspacesavannah.org, we have some sort of a few renderings of some of our vision. But one big thing, I think sort of center point is sort of a huge climbing feature or a huge play space that sort of incorporates color and artwork, an indoor play space, I think, is very needed in Savannah. I will say, even our playgrounds, aren't quite what I would want them to be. And then, as you know, with the weather, it's hit or miss whether you can even go to the playground. So I think an indoor play space that, can sort of cover a range of ages is a big part of it. Aside from that, we are, imagining, I talked about the human heart. So we're sort of envisioning this sort of human body room experience that talks about, the circulatory system and the skeletal system and sort of interactive aspects of that where kids can learn about their own body and how, things work and how your eyes work and sort of comprehensive, sort of science-focused human body room. We're hoping to have a music room where kids can explore and have real hands-on instruments and learn about, sound waves and all of that and see different instruments. And then we're calling this the Energy Lab, sort of experimental hands-on things with light and wind and all of those aspects where kids can play and interact with technology in a way where they're learning at the same time. I think an arts and crafts room is sort of a given, but we're hoping to do different art programming and crafts that are seasonally themed and, focused around topics, come in for this activity this Saturday, that type of thing. In addition to sort of a science lab and come see our science experiments. So it's a lot about housing all these different aspects that are, hands-on learning but playful at the same time and colorful and bright and just engaging for young kids, for all kids. And then in addition to that, we they have thoughts of potential, this is the best case scenario, a cafe where parents could, grab something to eat or sit there, let their kids play, or kids can grab a snack, sort of everything housed in this space where maybe you could come, spend the entire day. That is the grand vision of it, to be big enough and have enough to do where, you could spend a day there. And it would be worth, someone like you driving to Savannah to come do that on a Saturday.
Sounds so awesome.
Well,
I'm
I
just
mean,
like getting
we have a
excited
lot of
thinking
dreams.
about it. I know, and I know it's things that, take time to develop, but I love where it's headed. I think it's really cool.
Hope so.
Do you guys have a space already, or are you searching for a space?
That's the number one priority is finding a space. So we've had our eye on a couple of buildings, but we're trying to like fundraise as quickly as we can to, get a building before it sells to somebody else, or something else develops in its place. So that's the tricky part is getting the funds to get a building so people can start sort of envisioning.
Sure.
But we're, on our list was like an old grocery store that's not there anymore, a movie theater that's gone. So sort of buildings like that are just sort of big, giant, blank spaces that would be able to house whatever exhibits we bring into them. So, because we'll have to do a lot of customizing, I imagine, to make it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that you talked about before the interview was SCAD. And, we're blessed to have them in Savannah, and they are very involved in a lot of different things. And so using their design expertise to come alongside.
That was something I was very excited about. So the Savannah College of Art and Design is a huge part of Savannah, particularly downtown Savannah, and have just, renovated old buildings and, created a lot of beautiful spaces in Savannah for their students that, we all get to enjoy. So I really wanted to figure out a way to partner with them and bring them on board to the museum in some way. So the thing we're working with them now on is they have a program for themed entertainment design, which in theory that's sort of like designing for theme parks. So like, Disney and, things like that. So it's a master's program they have, and they will turn your project into a course for their students.
Wow.
So, and then the students take 10 weeks to design for whatever project you have. So I approached them about the Children's Museum, and the professor's worked for Disney for 35 years. I think he sat and helped open Disney Paris and things like that. So that's sort of the experience they're bringing to it. But they're very excited about this, which, helps the city that they're in and would be something that their students could design for and then, show in real life, maybe in a few years, something that can come to fruition. So not just, conceptualizing something that may never exist, just an idea, but like maybe seeing this through to completion. Yeah. So we've approached them with our different concepts, and they are going to turn it into a course in the spring, and we'll have their master students coming up with design ideas for us.
That's
and then
so cool.
We can take those ideas and take them to a fabricator or whatever company and bring them to life. So I'm very excited
really
about that.
neat.
Yeah, and very happy to work with SCAD on this project.
Yeah, that's a very unique way of allowing them to be a very hands-on, project-based learning experience where you're not just creating something, like you said, that will never be anything. You're creating for people in the city that you live in, which is there's so many layers of good experience there, and so many layers of good things.
That's
that
what
can
I
come
love.
from that.
They'll have it, the students will have it as part of their portfolio, and then, we'll have it, for our children's museum. So I think it's a great collaboration.
Absolutely. So I know that you guys have a board that
Yes.
you've developed of different people from the community. How did you go about finding people to be a part of that?
I started small with, basically other moms I knew, other moms of young kids who I knew would be excited about this, and I'd say, I feel like we all have sort of the creative bent, and are just passionate about making things fun and exciting for our kids. And I think, it's sort of I always think it's like the moms who throw like the themed birthday party and get really into it. Like I feel like that's what we all are. So it's sort of like, bringing that mindset to this to come up with the most fun ideas, and just putting a creative spin on things to make them fun for our kids. I mean, I feel like selfishly, we all want this to exist before our kids,
Get
are
older,
grown,
right?
which is a motivating factor. But it's also just like something we want to exist in the community for every kid and for all the visitors that come to Savannah, which is a huge amount of people. So, I think it serves two needs of like being a tourist draw for families who might not have something to do on a rainy day or, in the middle of July. And then also just a hub for local families to return to again and again. Hopefully, every month where we'll have new activities, new programming to offer
Right.
people to keep it fresh and keep it exciting.
That's so cool. So tell me about like how can people support you? How can they come alongside you to help out with this initiative?
So basically, our two priorities right now are getting the word out about what we're doing and then asking for donations. So on our website, you can donate a one-time gift, or you could set up a recurring monthly donation, which I think, even if it's, $5 a month, $10 a month, that's money that keeps coming in,
Right.
that we can rely on, that will help us reach our financial goals.
Yeah.
So even those small donations, I feel like are so important, as well as, we're reaching out to businesses in Savannah that give to other organizations that are known to be charitable, and just seeing if they would invest in our mission too. So it's a lot of outreach right now, and just spreading the word of mouth, and then through social media. We're on Instagram, mostly on Instagram at the moment. It's Create Space Savannah. But yeah, we're just like letting people know, like I just shared with you, that we have a grand vision, and so we need their support
We need help,
as much as possible. Yeah.
Definitely. And all of that will be linked in our show notes too.
Awesome. Thank
So I will share out the website because I do think, or the website and the Instagram page, because I do think it's important just to get it out there. Share it, share it, share it.
Thank you.
So kind of a personal question. I want to know, your three kids, if they walk into this Create Space, what would they gravitate to first?
And I think about this a lot because my three kids, I will say, I don't know what the 3-year-old is quite into yet.
Right.
He seems very like tactile.
Okay.
But my son, my oldest, is 9, and he is just an artist. He has been drawing since he was 4. It is his favorite thing to do. He loves that. My daughter is sort of our athletic kid, which I was not. So that's like foreign to me, but like loves soccer, has kicked a ball perfectly straight since she was 2 years old. So, and then, like I said, the 3-year-old, we'll see. But so I have 3 very different kids. Who enjoy different things. So that's sort of part of our idea of, a range of activities and experiences that can appeal to more physical, climbing and playing and whatever sort of physical activity we can give them. And then addition to kids who just, love art or love music or are more creative, in the traditional sense. So I hope we can, cover the gap of sort of what kids are interested in and provide something for everyone. But yeah, I think all my kids just love to run around and, grab everything in sight. So
and just be kids.
Yes, exactly. So, something for that, but then to appeal to these, differences they have.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, all kids are so different. So creating a space where they can all enjoy things. I mean, but of course they just like to run around, like you said. So just anything they can put their hands on is fun. So I think this is just so awesome. I'm so excited for you. I'm excited to be involved. I want to be involved. I want to spread the word about this because obviously it is personal to me, like I said, but I do love kids and care about them having a safe place to play and enjoy themselves, and for parents too.
Absolutely.
So I ask all my guests at the end of our episode, how have you felt seen recently?
I think, putting myself out there with the museum is sort of, I always feel like I didn't come up with this myself. It was sort of a God-placed vision and desire to make this happen, because this is not anything I knew how to do. So, you know, when I tell people about it, I feel like it goes two ways. It goes either, you know, oh, how are you going to raise all that money? Or where's it going to be? Or how are you going to do that? Or people are immediately excited and like, this is awesome. How can I help? So, you know, it's the people that are excited. I'm like, those are my people, and let's do this.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with, you know, practical questions, but I'm like, you gotta, you know, you gotta have faith in it. You gotta have faith in the idea. And you know, I don't know how we'll raise all the money, but I know that in my life, God has shown up for me over and over again, in perfect timing with just what I needed. And I can look back on my life and see those instances. So I'm just applying that history and that faith to this, because I'm like, this didn't come from me, because it's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
So I feel seen by the people that believe and are excited and want to make this happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have those memorial stones. I like to call them memorial stones to look back at,
Yes.
to see where God's provided in the past. And we know that He promises to do so in the future. And He loves our children more than we could ever imagine. So I'm sure that He would desire for them to have the same type of space. So thank you so much for meeting with me
you.
today. Thank you for driving from Savannah on a
Wasn't
rainy
so
day
bad.
to talk about what's so close to your heart. And I hope the very best for you. Want to be involved, want to stay connected, because I do believe in this. And I'm proud of you for stepping out there and
thank you.
putting in the grunt work to make it happen. I know it's not
do
easy.
We're going to do it.
Absolutely. You are. I believe that. So this was just another episode of the ICU podcast. And if you would like to support Natalie and her team for Create Space Savannah, you can find all of that in the episode notes, the link to the website and also to her Instagram. I hope you guys are encouraged by her vision and by her trust in the Lord, that when we have things come to us, that we can find support and we can work hard to make that happen for our kiddos, for the people who are around us in our community. And so another episode of the ICU podcast will be available next Friday. We'll see you soon.